Or San Junipero, for those of you who saw that.
Yeah.
And do you think we're going to get to that point where I can sit in a chair, I've got like 3 days to live, and they're just going to pull everything out of me, all my consciousness, all my feelings, all my thoughts, my perspectives, and put it into an avatar that my wife can argue with when after I'm dead?
It's still a reductionistic approach, right? I think there's an important distinction. I just want to at least make this distinction. For me, it's important. So people's memories, essentially this is acting as an intermediary technological solution to people's connection with memories and the person in their own experience, right? The way it was taught to me is like right now we use our phones, we use our technologies, all these things come from the earth. They're all stones, they're all metals, they're all natural resources. So I can connect with you if you're across the world in Australia or in India, utilizing the implemented practical use of the stones that have been turned into the computer. So this gives us an artificial intelligence that's disembodied, utilizing the minerals and the earthen materials to build that. The elders, for example, they can connect through an actual stone, a rock, across the world and connect with somebody else in a certain place, not utilizing the technologic innovation, but utilizing the innovation of the ecology that's already here. So what I find really interesting is like death is a natural thing. And here we are trying to transcend these things with our technologies when actually there's like spiritual implications to the fact if you alter your grieving process because you're now bringing this person into your holographic reality as a proxy, rather than having the enablement of you to connect with them and still connect with their holographic form, but in your memory and in that space, but not grieving them and not actually bringing them across these. I'm just very interested in what's going to happen because this is part of playing the overlay of human law, which is nested within natural law, but with some of our arrogance, we're overlaying human law on top of nature. And I think we're going to find there's going to be some disruptions in the processes that later we'll come to recognize as spiritual. Right now, we can call them energetic, we can call them quantum, we can call them whatever we want. But I think these proxies, although I can see the benefit in them, I have questions about like what's actually happening on these deeper energetic levels that we're not able to perceive and quantify yet with this.
Well, the ripple there was that you might gain new experiences with the proxy that you were never able to gain with the real person, right? I didn't have the best relationship with my father and I was fascinated by him, but we didn't have the best relationship. So if I developed his avatar and was able to actually sit down for hours asking his proxy all the questions that I never got to ask him, I'm creating new experiences with the proxy that never existed in real life. Answering questions, giving me epiphanies, clarity about where I came from in his life and everything that were never there in the first session.
So you were not But it's very interesting what you're saying about the whole thing about if my mother died about a year ago, actually a year ago yesterday. And if I'd had an avatar of her, would have I gone through this year and thought about her and the effect that it has on her energy and me, the fact that she's gone, if I replace that with an artificial model of her, what am I actually changing philosophically and physically in my world? And that's just, I believe, something that humans have done many times with nature, thinking that we can control it, and then, oh shit, we got big problems. Right?
Yeah, and it's there. I also, people often say esoteric or philosophical discussions and versus pragmatic and applicable ones. But for me, like you're saying, thought, word, creation of the reality, right?
Well,
so
sorry to interrupt you, Ryan.
No, it's good. Go ahead.
But, a famous physicist that we all heard of, Carl Sagan, would say, we're all star stuff, nothing ever. So we never really die, right?
Right.
Because we go back to the basic elements. Or if you look at it from the other point of view of physics, right? Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. We just change into a different form.
Yeah.
And the technology to understand that form right, to tap into the information wave is not around yet. So we never really died. Maybe the memories are out there. We talk about philosophy. I'm very old school. I have to say to people I studied physics because people don't understand that I actually studied natural philosophy, which is the root of physics, right? Like asking why the fuck is that color, right? Like, and how did it get to be that color? Without those questions, we wouldn't have the pragmatic reality that we now face.
Exactly.
But to move on, there's all. So this is great stuff. I don't know how. Let's ask a question to the audience, right? How many of you would want to have a digital avatar to talk to? Yes or no? Yes, for I want a digital avatar. Put your hands up.
Okay.
One is putting his finger up.
4, 5.
Putting his whole hand
6.
up. Yeah, one. So the majority would not want an avatar. So
But then,
how would you then?
But then that also goes back to cars and sort of Ford and people not wanting cars because they have horses, right? You know, like now you can't really judge that sort of thing until it becomes, oh, my friend's just got an avatar and it's really cool. I want one.
So
for myself.
Pandora's box syndrome.
Yeah. This is always a part of it, right?
Well, in a way, it's just like this is a step function, yeah? Because a lot of social media at this point, you're basically interacting with digital avatars, whether you recognize it or not, because the public persona is different than the private persona of the people on social media. So that's already a digital
God for
avatar.
that.
But then it's a step function to holographically have them in that place, whether or not they're actually relaying their own thoughts in that moment or it's coming from some personality model. So it's like a step function in that. So yeah, it's part of like the horsepower and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
I've got
step
a horrible question again for the audience, right? Would you rather be talking now to a bunch of avatars or real people?
Well, actually, we're just elemental avatars.
Okay. But
I'm just the water and the earth,
but
the fire body.
How do you know that we're not?
right, so
Right?
because
do you know that I'm
you
not from
kicked
the-
me earlier on,
No,
Lionel.
yeah, but and you
And I
do that.
felt
You-
it. I
my
felt the pain.
avatar, my hologram avatar makes it so it tingles your fingers and makes it feel like you're actually touching me, but I'm not actually.
But it's a serious question, right? Because you're in entertainment, right? This is something which is.
And I work
gonna
with
happen.
celebrities doing this all the time.
Right.
For them, it's twofold. One, it's legacy preservation, right? The family of Ayrton Senna, who was a famous Formula One race car driver who died on the racetrack, his family reached out and said, hey, we're building a museum in his honor in Brazil. Can you build his avatar for the museum so people can interact with him? And I would only take on these projects with a state approval. But for them, it's like to preserve that legacy and to let people interact and learn about his history and other historical figures. And on the other side, I propose it a lot to like athletes because think especially retired athletes that are getting up there, they do these like really cheesy like expos, like autograph signing events. If you're in your 60s and 70s, how many of those events do you really want to do, right? Just sitting there for hours, shaking hands, signing autographs, where I could bring back that ball player in their prime, de-aged, 29 years old, chiseled in their uniform. And
That's not a proper word in British English, by the way. De-aged, younger.
okay. And let everyone
I like I like that.
Yeah, and let everyone ask all the questions they want 24/7 of that player. You know, what you remember that game that you had this, you know, score, blah, blah, blah. And those interactions at those conferences, you have one half sentence to say when you shake their hand, they sign an autograph, and you got to move on. And you dropped $500, you know, for that interaction. Where this is like,
Wow.
you can go on and do this for hours. That's
So-
fine.
Wait, so how does the autograph happen?
Ain't no autograph yet.
Yeah. But maybe
Or it could be rewards. Like you have
There's no
100 interactions.
holographic to three-dimensional stamp.
Have 100 interactions with this avatar, earn an autographed.
Yeah,
memorabilia.
and maybe you could get it so it's on your computer, and like you
Yeah.
said, you have so many interactions. So next week
An
I can talk to
NFT
you
or
again. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Okay.